Welcome to A Date with Darkness podcast, where I will be discussing the impact of hurtful and abusive relationships and how to overcome them so that you can move through your pain and get to the kind of healthy relationships you want, need, and deserve. I'm Dr. Natalie Jones. I'm a licensed psychotherapist based in California. While I hope that you find this podcast educational and informational, please note it should not be substituted for treatment with a licensed mental health professional. Also, due to the nature of the podcast, some of the information presented on the show can be sensitive to some of my listeners, so please note that listener discretion is advised. Hello and welcome back to the show, guys. It's been a minute and I've missed chatting with you guys, but we have a very special episode coming up. It should be noted that April is Financial Literacy Month, and so the podcast will be dedicated to all things about finances. So get ready to hear lots of episodes about money, about narcissists and your money, and how to get in control of your money and other sort of themes that we have with money. All right. And so we'll jump right into the administrative stuff like we always do. And, just before we do that, though, I want to check in and see how are you? How are you maintaining? How is your year going? How are you managing the stress of COVID-19? Are you one of the folks that has to, or was told that you have to go back to work? So you've started commuting, or maybe you've been going into work this whole time, or maybe you are a helper and so you've been an essential worker the whole time. But how are you? And, I think that's important to check in and ask, because, life can get busy and, sometimes we can forget to check in with others, check in with ourselves. So I wanted to be mindful of that. And while I can't hear all of your responses, know that I'm thinking of you and I hope that you're doing okay and that you're in good spirits listening to this show. Okay. So of course, the administrative stuff. If you want to write me, ask me a question, something that can be put on the podcast, write me at adatewithdarkness@gmail.com. You want to keep up with me, blogs and whatnot, drnataliejones.com. There is a free ebook up there currently, looking where you are assessing red flags in your relationships. So we will be working on changing that and switching that out with something else. So get it while you can. And then that way you can be part of the email newsletter, which typically goes out every Friday. So every Friday morning, you'll get that in your inbox if you so wish to sign up. And of course, if you are interested in the group membership coaching, please do so at the link in the show notes below. And then that will be starting soon. I know I've said that, but there's been a couple of big projects that have kind of interfered with that. So we are still working on the group membership and individual membership coaching site there. All right. And if you like this podcast, be sure to leave a written review on iTunes or whatever podcast carrier you listen to. iTunes is usually the ones that most people see. And usually if it's in iTunes, it will go across all platforms. So be sure to like the podcast and share it with a person who you think could benefit from it. All right. So thank you. That was quite a bit there for listening to that. So today's guest for today's show is Miss Emily Maclin. Emily is a financial coach, and she is coming on the show to talk about how to get our money situation together, and some of the blocks that gets in the way of us being able to get ourselves together financially. And one of the biggest things that she and I talk about that people have is how shame shows up in finances. So without further ado, here is Miss Emily Maclin. Hello and welcome to the show, Emily.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I'm glad to have you on. So for people that don't know you, who you are and what you do, can you talk a little bit about who you are, what you do, and what sort of drives the passion behind your work?
Yeah, so my name is Emily Maclin. I am a financial coach and I primarily support professional women who are leveling up financially, whether it's in the form of a significant raise, a bonus, they have thriving business income, and they aren't necessarily sure how to strategically make their money work for them to accomplish their financial goals. Paying off debt, managing cash flow, building that emergency fund. I kind of like to have this little tagline to say I work with women who have executive level compensation, but entry level management skills, which is okay because these women are usually very coachable, teachable, and willing to invest in themselves to get the skills they need to build wealth and to grow financially. So that is typically who I support. And I just love doing this work. Like I feel like it is the thing that I've been called to do. And I am a believer. So a lot of what I share, a lot of what I teach is from a faith-based perspective. So when I say I'm called to this, I really do feel that I am called to this, called to really shift people's mindset around money. Money, controls so much of our lives when it doesn't have to. And a lot of it is based in fear. So I'm here to yank that fear out and really empower people to use money as the tool that it is.
Yes, and I could see that your face lights up when you talk about it. And I'm sure, March is going to be the theme of money for the podcast for me. And just with the women that you work with, can you talk a little bit about what their number one struggles are around money? Why do you think they are having so many challenges when they seem to have it together professionally? Why do you think their finances are amok?
I it all really boils down to mindset. And I know this is what you do all day, every day as well, but it really boils down to what we believe about money
Yeah.
and how our beliefs were shaped from us growing up, the things that we saw our parents do with money, the things that we heard them say with money. And a lot of times these women, they have done the things that they can do to earn well, to put them in positions to earn well. They don't necessarily manage well. And that puts them in positions to be to want to have that support to help them build the strategies, the systems, and the skills to really accomplish what they know they should be accomplishing. So most of them come to me when they are, like I said, getting a nice raise, or they are getting, a nice influx of cash flow that they didn't have before. And while they are earning well, and this is why how much you make does not matter much at all. It is what you do with what you make is what matters the most. But many of them, they haven't struggled. They're not struggling, but they find themselves constantly living in fear around money, whether they're going to have enough. Many of the concerns are, hey, I need to pay for college. Hey, I have aging parents that I want to be in a position to support. I want to have a comfortable retirement myself, but they have so much fear and so much just uncertainty around these important life issues that, they know money can use to support them, but they don't necessarily have the know-how to really put the strategies in place to do it. And so those are the main concerns. It's just, I'm making all this money and I know I'm not using it the right way, or I know I'm not doing all that I can be doing and accomplishing with this money, and I want help.
Yeah, and I think I'm glad you brought that up because there are a lot of messages that, women, especially professional women, receive from childhood, especially professional Black women. And, it's interesting. I work with women who, or in people just in general, who are, they've experienced abuse in their relationships and they're working on their healing journey. And there's a couple of different ways, or a few different ways that money tends to come up that I've noticed just in working with women, very high functioning overachievers, women or people that you think have it together. One of the things that I notice, especially when they get back out into the dating world, speaking to your fear that you brought up, is that women usually would want a man that makes within a certain financial bracket, right? Because they want to make sure that whatever challenges that they've experienced before during growing up, or certain aspects of their lives, that they don't experience that again. And so the idea would be, having a man that makes within a certain means. And the second thing that I've also noticed is that women will get into relationships where, partners are very financially dependent and draining and irresponsible or controlling of their money. And so, when they leave that relationship or as they're transitioning out, credit is ruined. They
Mm.
have no savings. They're just emotionally and financially tapped. And I'm wondering, I don't know if you see that in the work that you do, but if maybe you could speak a little bit about that.
I haven't necessarily seen that specifically, but I do see a lot of single women who are, single parents that are trying to make it happen on the one income where they no longer have that spouse's income.
Mm,
And they are, like I said, they have the burden of worrying about not only providing for their families right now, but being able to take care of those future needs of, the aging parents, the college and retirement and all of those things.
mm,
And so it's about, really building, first of all, the work that I do is really around creating awareness. I am not a therapist. I do not play one on TV,
absolutely.
but I see it as a way to create, awareness around what is either helping you with your money or what is either hindering with your money. The beliefs, the thoughts, the habits, behaviors, like really bringing awareness to all of those things. But once we kind of tap into like where your mindset is and what may be hindering and hampering you, we focus on building those foundational skills, like credit health. If you need to do the things that you need to do to increase your credit health and build that emergency fund and just really create stability, stability and a security that maybe you once had when you were in a relationship, and now it all falls on you.
And I think those are important concepts, especially the security and the safety. And, because that's, I think, what people are speaking most to when they have these sort of parameters around what other people should show up in their life should look like and what they should have in their financial pockets. It's really more of their fear of lack of security, safety, or just stability.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm wondering if maybe you can talk about things that we can do financially to build those things internally or from within.
Yeah. The first thing I think is recognizing that, hey, I may have grew up in a situation that was unstable, that had prolonged financial instability, prolonged financial insecurity. I grew up in those things. Many times, the mindsets that we grew up with or that were formed during those times, we take them and we put them in the new situation. So the first thing is really recognizing, hey, I'm no longer in that situation. I'm no longer in that situation. I can shake off of this scarcity mindset. I have, a pretty secure job. I have, a home. I no longer am in the situation where I constantly have to worry about fear of losing, money, or fear of losing my home, or fear, because a lot of times, like I said, we take that mindset and we bring it over here. So first, it's just really creating the awareness around, I'm not in that situation anymore. I'm not in that situation anymore. The second thing is really getting clear on where you are financially. So knowing what your numbers are, what your income is, what your expenses are going out. Many of the people that I work with, they don't have a clue. This is usually the thing that I hear most is, I make all this money and I don't know where it goes. They don't have a very good idea of how much money is actually going out of their household every month. So really getting clear on where you are financially so that you know if you have a deficit or a surplus at the end of the month. And the third thing is giving your money some purpose, like really giving your money a purpose and a job to do, whether it is taking care of you currently in your current lifestyle, or whether it is planning for those or saving for those future goals that you have, like buying a house or taking care of your parents or going on vacation. Many of us, money just comes and it goes without us even without it even having any kind of impact. One of the concerns that most of the women I work with is say, hey, I got a $20,000 raise this year, but it doesn't feel like it. I don't feel the impact of that on my lifestyle, because they've already handcuffed those future earnings by taking on additional debt or by, upgrading their lifestyle expenses. So just really getting clear, getting a handle on what you currently have. And then number 4, I would say getting clear on what you actually want. You'd probably be surprised with how many people I would ask that question to, and they don't know. They don't know what they want. They don't know what they want. They don't know what they want. I mean, they know the basics, but I want you to think beyond. First of all, most moms are like, well, I want this for my daughter, or this for my child, or this for my husband. I'm like, what do you want? So getting clear on what you actually want your money to do for you. And it's okay to, to have things that you want your money to do for your family, but what is it that those desires that God has placed in your heart that you can enable money as a tool to bring to pass? Thinking beyond just, paying your bills and going on vacation once a year. Like really thinking beyond the budget and thinking beyond these surface level things. And then, lastly, putting a plan in place and executing it. Many of us, we may be okay with getting a plan or putting a plan together, and we fall off after a couple of weeks or after a couple of months. So just really, coming up with a plan to get you to where you are, kind of bridge that gap from where you are to where you want to be, and executing, sticking with it, implementing.
Thank you for that. And you spoke a little bit about how, people don't understand, or they don't look at, where their money's going. Can you talk about that? Are there some ideas you have about why people don't look at where their money's going, or they're not managing, or it's just kind of gone, or they've spent it already before they even know?
Yeah. I think it goes back again to beliefs around money. If you grew up believing that money was evil, or if you grew up believing that money was not good, guess what? You're not going to want to pay attention to your money. You're not going to want to spend time building a budget. You're going to avoid money like the plague when you have those kind of beliefs floating through your mind every single month.
Yeah, and I also wonder too, there's also, like a deeper component, like what you were saying, in terms of people don't necessarily know what they want. And I think part of, because I work with high functioning, overachieving women also, and people also, and part of that is, making sure that everyone's needs are taken care of your own. And I think even when it comes to financial wellness, um, you're not making sure that your own needs are being taken care of. Like you're just concerned with either keeping up, helping somebody else, but not making sure that you're safe, secure, and stable, or that you have what you desire.
Yeah, I think whenever you're comparing it, if you grew up with a lot of financial instability and you're now at least in a stable place, that's better than what better than what you had. And quite frankly, probably just, you're satisfied with that. You have satisfaction with that. Um,
Mm.
and I think it can be many things. Because we all kind of express our financial traumas in different ways.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's so interesting how it manifests. But, I also think that there's probably parallels in terms of what's going on emotionally, with how you spend your money. Again, I heard you say mindset, but I also wonder if, like, just emotionally, people are kind of going through things. Where money doesn't have value to them. So I hear a lot of people talk about retail therapy. If I'm feeling poorly, I'll
Yep.
just go out and I'll buy some expensive stuff, and I'll do that. Now we're in the age of Amazon, we're in the age of Instacart, and all these things that are delivered right to your front door with the push of a button. So it becomes much more attractive, especially now during COVID where we're all at home. And so people are just clicking, pushing, and purchasing and just having stuff sent to them, where it's almost like, it's instant gratification for a moment. And then once the initial joy of that gift that you bought yourself is past, you find yourself in a trap of having to spend more to kind of keep that up.
Absolutely agree. That's why I feel like we are a society of overspenders, overeaters, and overmedicators because we're constantly chasing those dopamine hits that we get
Mm.
from spending, eating, drinking, drugs. We're chasing those highs and we use them as ways to deal with those feelings that we do not want to have. Instead of facing those feelings and processing those feelings, we try to get rid of them and
Mm.
replace them with those dopamine hits. 100% agree. Feelings and your money are uniquely tied together.
What are some of the negative beliefs that you may commonly hear that people have around money?
Um, Most people do not believe they make enough.
Hmm.
They don't. I mean, these are people who earn 80, 90, 100, $200,000. They don't believe that they make enough. I had a client who was a executive level engineer, very well paid, very long and accomplished career with a 7-figure net worth, who woke up every single day worried that she was going to lose her money. And all because when she was 9 years old, she had an incident where she lost $100 that her mom had put aside to pay for the groceries for the month. And she's constantly feeling like now she's going to lose that money. Like she's going to wake up and that money is just going to be gone.
Hmm.
And so it's like, that's the most common one, that I don't have enough. I don't have enough to, survive or do the things that I want to do. And, that's the basis of like the scarcity mindset. It's fear. It's fear-based. It's fear that there isn't enough, or fear that you're gonna lose what you have, even when in reality there's plenty.
Hmm. Wow. So there's like the scarcity mindset that it's going to bottom out and the bottom is going to fall out from under you. So that's anxiety around that. And from what I'm hearing, that belief then what translates into them not saving or then translates into anxious spending.
Yeah, that it translates into um not not wanting to spend. One, it can show up both ways. Either they're overspending, and I was just talking about this to somebody on Facebook, just trying to explain it, how it can show up as overspending. It's just like, how does that show up as overspending? And when you think about, this is the example that I gave her. So example, say when you are growing up and or some event in your life has happened and it continues to happen over and over and over again. Say where you are, say anytime you get money that you lose it or it gets taken away, it's just out of your control that you do not have this money anymore. And it happens over and over and over and over and over again. It's going to develop some kind of money script. Money script is a term that was developed by financial psychologist Brad Klontz, but it's a belief that has developed as a result of some event or some circumstance in your life. You're going to develop some kind of belief if that continues to happen over and over and over again, that maybe one, money is not for me, or could it be developed that money is, I can't control money. I have no control over money. Or it can be that you believe that, we shouldn't have money. I shouldn't have money. I personally shouldn't have money. And, when you believe those things, say, for example, when years later, when you have a substantial amount of money, maybe you overspend so that it doesn't have a chance to be taken from you. Or maybe you're the opposite. Maybe you hoard all of the money that you get so it doesn't have a chance to be taken away from you. It expresses itself, in different ways in different people, but it can somehow show up in a way that's harmful. And if you have no idea of these concepts, you don't even know what's happening. You don't even know that unconsciously you are spending every dime that you earn as a way to protect it, to control it. And I know it sounds crazy.
No, it definitely makes a lot of sense. Just anxiety and fear can manifest itself in so many different ways and really cause you to sabotage and actually cause you to spiral back into a pattern that you're so afraid of slipping into.
Yeah. That's what a lot of the women say. Hey, I know in the past I haven't managed well. I don't want to do that again. I want to get the help that I can learn how to manage better now that I'm getting this increase. I don't want to blow it like I did. This is my second chance. I want to get it right.
And it hasn't been that long that women have actually had the right to have access and control their own money.
In the last 100 years.
Yeah.
Or a little more maybe, but yeah.
And so that's actually, it hasn't been that long ago. But for people that are unable to, or they haven't been looking at their money, they haven't necessarily been looking at their accounts, they may have trouble with the idea of like budgeting or balancing or whatever the case may be. What are some initial first steps that they can take to start to be more conscious about their habits? In addition to we had talked about the mindsets, but what are some steps that I imagine someone may be listening to this and they're already starting to feel a little anxious because it's like, oh, okay, that again, that kind of stuff. So I'm just curious what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I don't have it with me, but I read a lot of books. And one of my one of a book that I have recently read, it's around anxiety and money and financial anxiety. And so many people deal with financial anxiety. But I think the first thing is just recognizing the feelings that you have when you think about money, when you pay a bill, when you get an unexpected bill, when there's anything, when you think about, oh, it's the beginning of the month, now I got to go, paid. When there's when money is the topic of conversation, or you have to face any kind of financial things, pay attention to the feelings that you have and the anxiety that may show up as a racing heart, or it may show up as, heavy breathing, or if you get some kind of tingle in your hand, like your body is telling you these are things that may be related to some kind of financial trauma or financial anxiety that you're dealing with. So, really paying attention to what you're feeling, and also paying attention to your habits. If you notice that, what do you do on payday? Do you wake up on payday happy as can be? Saturday comes, Sunday comes, you're swiping, and Monday you're feeling the buyer's remorse. Like, really paying attention to what's happening. What are those habits and those things that are happening to you in your cycles of money? You got to create some awareness. I think the awareness is the number one thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's usually one of the first things that I too also teach is just having that awareness of what you're doing, what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and how that's, affecting your behavior ultimately. When do people, or when should people come to see someone like yourself?
I think when you are, and it's so interesting you asked that question, because as many financial educators out there that there are, and as many coaches and YouTube channels and websites, apps, blogs, when you are finally exhausted from trying all of the things, seek the help of an expert. When you've tried to budget 10 different times and you never stick to the plan, get support. Okay. So whenever you've done it, you've tried the envelopes, you've done the Dave Ramsey, you've done all of the things, and you are not having the success that you want, it's time to invest in getting the support that you need to be able to get the success that you want with your money. And a lot of times people are like, you mean I got to pay money to help somebody help me stop spending money? Sometimes you do. Sometimes you do. Sometimes you have to value the support and the expertise of someone else that may have more than you do in that area. I struggled with trying to lose weight and get my six pack. You know what I did? I hired a fitness coach. To help me with my nutrition and to help me with working out. Yes. Because I didn't have that expertise. I didn't have the mindset. I obviously could not support myself in getting the goals that accomplished that I wanted to get in that area.
Absolutely, on your own. Yeah, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with that, especially if effectively you're not solving the problem as of yet. So help is always available. Ideally, if our finances are in perfect health, what should that look like?
I would say, and I would give that a name of financial wellness or financial well-being, a state of having the confidence. I know most people feel like having $1 million in the bank is what that looks like. No, it doesn't. Sorry. It looks like having the confidence that you are doing the right things with your money, and having the confidence that no matter what comes your way, you have the capability and the competence to handle it. That's what really being in control of your money looks like. Knowing that you can figure it out, knowing that you are doing the right things. The right things, what? They create stability. They create preparation for things that may happen in the future. They plan for the future. They plan for the current. It's just having control and having the confidence, knowing that you're doing the right things with your money and not constantly wallowing in fear or anxiety around your money.
Absolutely. And when you have someone that you're kind of working with, on their money stories or on their money habits, when you finally get them to a place where they can pinpoint something that they desire financially, what do most people normally say?
Um, people want to be generous.
Okay.
They want to give. And it's not like they want to give $1 million. I had one client, she wanted to be able to give back to her university. She wanted to give a statue of somebody. I can't remember the significance of this person, but she wanted to be able to give back to her university because her university gave back to her. I tell you, one of the things that I want to do. I remember when I was in college, and some of the, at the end of the kind of middle of the semester or early in the semester, when if you had a balance and you didn't pay for it, you get kicked out of your classes, you get purged. I want to be able to write a check to the university for all of those students that are on the verge of getting purged.
Yeah.
I never got purged, but I really have a soft spot in my heart for those students, right? So many people, they just want to be more generous. They want to be more generous. I always tell people when we get to that part of my program where, what are those, what I mean, just as outrageous as you can think of, like, what are those dreams? Because I think God gives us desires. He gives us visions of things that he wants us to accomplish, or maybe he's assigned for us to accomplish in this world. But we get so caught up in the throes of the day to day, paying bills, going to work, taking care of kids, that those things do not feel possible at all. And I want people to walk away from our program feeling like those things are possible. Those impossible things are possible.
Mm. And it's very interesting that, people that are very anxiety prone around spending habits are very compassionate and also want to give a lot of money away. So that's very interesting there, the parallels there.
Mm-hmm.
And I do also wonder about that being rooted in trauma as well. Like, hey, just, this is what I've experienced. I want to reach out and kind of
Yeah.
contribute to other people that may be having a similar experience. And if I can help, a person or two from
Yeah.
doing, from going through something what I saw or experienced, that's where I'd like to contribute.
That is very interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's so interesting. And I imagine that once you work with people to gain control over their financial wellness, there's a certain sense of confidence that they gain.
Yeah.
Can you talk
Yeah.
about some of the shifts that you see in your work with the folks that you work with?
Absolutely. The one thing that I tell people, and it takes a while for them to believe it, but the first thing that I want to get them to see is, I don't care really how much you make right now, it's enough.
Mm.
Most people come to me not believing that they make enough money. So usually in the first about 6 to 8 weeks, I'll get an email or I'll get a text or something from a client like, oh my God, I have paid all my bills, I have saved like we talked about, and I have money left. So it's just, they don't have that initial control or that initial clarity of what's coming in and what's going out. That is like the biggest shift alone. It's just having the clarity to see. Because the first thing that I do with them is I map out their money and I tell them, okay, based on what you're telling me, what you spend normally, what's here, what's there, you should have an extra $1,000 a month. Do you not see that? And they're like, this is impossible. I don't see it. But a couple of months after working together, where they have developed some good habits, they've developed the habit of paying attention to their spending, the habit of taking care of their money, the habit of planning ahead and planning their money, they start to see, I do have extra money.
Mm.
I do have enough money to do the things that I want to do, even some fun stuff. Most people have such a negative connotation with the budget or with the spend plan. but they often see this is just a tool to help you stay in control,
Mhm.
to help you have a steady hand over what you are giving, spending, and saving for the month. That's it. It's a roadmap. It's a tool. That is it. And so they often have shifts around what a budget means to them. It's no longer a thing of restriction or deprivation. They see it as the tool that it is to help them stay under control and help them achieve their goals. Um, they oftentimes drop the anxiety and the shame that they may have. I tell you what, most people, we all have some level of debt, but most people have the idea that their debt is worse than everybody else's, or their
Mhm.
situation is worse than everybody else's. So they often see, okay, even though I got this debt, even though I may not have much saved, it's okay. I can figure this out. So they drop the shame that is often holding them back and keeping them stuck from reaching out to get the help that they need. They drop the anxiety, or the anxiety, that pressure kind of relieves. They get relief because they know, okay, if I do this, this is where I'll be 6 months, 18 months from now. It's like they have that support, they have a plan that helps them see the light at the end of the tunnel. And so, okay, I can breathe. I don't have to be anxious about every dollar that I spend because I know that I'm doing the right things with my money now.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. Can you, and shame does play a big part, I would imagine, in first of all, taking a look at what's going on. Second, I can only imagine how it manifests in terms of reaching out to get help and having somebody else sort of look at what's going on. I can imagine there's a big component there that shows up. But just, can you talk a little bit about what you've noticed in working with people who have a lot of shame around money?
It's scary. It's scary for them, and the fear of being judged is so real to them.
Mm.
And I tell you, I have a theory around, because a lot of times I'll have people that will set up a call with me, but then they won't show up. And my
Oh.
theory is that, that shame kind of takes over. Like, I thought I was ready to talk about this, but I'm not. I'm not really ready to talk about this. And I do my absolute best to create a space of non-judgment, a space of just tender love and care so that people can get over the hump of shame. Because I
Mhm.
get it. I get um shame wants you to stay silent. Shame wants you not to tell this horrible thing to people, but exposing it and talking about it is the thing that is going to kill the shame. It is the thing that is going to allow you to be released from the power of this shame. Is
Yeah.
talking about it. It's telling someone about it. So, I one of my very first clients, we literally, the first 4 weeks of us meeting together, she cried every single
Wow.
session. She cried, and I let her cry, and that was it. She cried on the phone, and she's actually one of my bravest clients because she has been willing to, if you go on my Facebook or my Instagram, she was willing to share her story and her perspective and her story of working with me and how she's overcome so much emotionally around money. But she calls it the time in which she lied and cried. But she literally cried those first 4 sessions because she was so ashamed of being 49 years old and in the situation that she was in. That's
Mm.
all she could do was cry. And
Yeah.
I let her cry. And so she was really ready to face the truth, because it is about being ready to face the truth, no matter how hard it is, no matter how terrible you think it is. And, the thing that I always try to assure my clients, it's not as bad as you think it is.
Mhm.
I
Mm.
don't care if you've had bankruptcy, foreclosure, no savings, no retirement. I just, late payments. I don't care how bad you've messed up in the past. My message is always, A, there's something you can do, and B, it's never too late. It is never too late to start again, but you got to forgive yourself, give yourself the biggest dose of grace that you can muster, and move forward.
Mm. What's some of the more severe detriments of shame that you've seen around money?
That's a good question. I feel like I haven't seen like really, really severe cases. That is probably the most severe one where, it just took a few sessions for her to have the trust to open up. You know, would probably be the most severe of what I've seen so far. I've been a coach for 3 years now. So, and even if it's like, very emotionally like that deep, or like somebody where they're really, really dealing with something like that, I don't feel like would be in my lane. I mean, there are financial therapists, people who are actually skilled in clinical approaches to some of the traumas that people deal with. I would definitely like refer them to something like that if I felt like it was, something I couldn't address or couldn't deal with, from the mindset approach that I take. But I think that's probably the most severe, where, just having a hard time opening up and sharing of what is actually going on. It is funny because she, at the end of probably like our 4th month, she was like, I got something else to tell you. I got another loan over here that I didn't tell you about. So, hiding things from your coach is another level that is, of course, is motivated by shame. I'm here to help you. I'm here to help you, get control of all of these things. But that, she was like, I got to tell you, I got something else that I haven't told you about, which is fine. I'm not going to react any different than had she told me that 4 months ago. But I get that it just sometimes we have to overcome ourselves before we can step into the success and the help that we need to get.
So just very slow to release all of the skeletons in the closet,
exactly,
so to speak.
Yes. Yes.
And it's not funny, but I could certainly see, just where it's like, it's tough to really be vulnerable and really lay all of that out for that fear of judgment. With your program, can you kind of walk us through, and I don't expect you to tell me every step, but just kind of walk us through, like, what are some of the major themes or pain points that you're helping these women overcome?
Yeah. So the name of my program is Think Beyond the Budget. So first, think, because the name of my company is Think Legacy. I want you to, I have lots of things around mindset because that's where it all starts.
Good.
And so really the first thing that we do is kind of clarifying where you are. So get clear on where you stand financially. That's the very first thing. We spend a couple of hours with a deep dive where we just lay all the cards on the table, right? What do you have coming in? What do you have going out? We get very clear on where you are. And the second thing is, identifying where you want to go. So we look at money mindset, we look at your money mission, your purpose, your goals, and we look at your money methods, the skills that you need to build. What skills do you need? Do you need to learn how to budget? Do you need to learn how to invest? Do you need to learn how to save? Do you need to build the delayed gratification muscle? Like all of these things. And, my program is very comprehensive. It's a very holistic look at managing money. So while I help you build those foundational management skills, I want to get you positioned to get on the path to build wealth and well-being. So while the first half, we spend a lot on the foundational things like learning how to budget and, goal setting. We look at your core values. We look at values-based spending. We look at your net worth, lots of things. But I feel like as a financial coach, I'm one person that you need on your money team. When I think about money, I think that you need a financial advisor, someone who can help you grow and multiply your money. I think that you need an insurance agent, someone who can help you protect your money and reduce, risk around your money. I think that you need a CPA or a tax accountant, someone who's going to help you, tax plan and reduce that's some risk management around your money as well. I also think that you need an estate estate planner, someone who's going to help you if you're you know, building a massive amount of money, someone's going to help you be able to protect it and pass it to the next generation. And so what my program does is not only helps you build those foundational skills, but I want you to be able to have intelligent conversations with these other finance professionals that you need in order to protect and prepare and position your money. And so I provide lots of education around how to choose a financial advisor, or how to invest your money, or what should you be thinking about when you're learning how to invest, and what are the terms that are important, or what are the 5 documents that you need to have an effective estate plan, so that you can have an intelligent conversation with an estate planner, knowing what he or she is teaching you or talking about. You have that base level knowledge. So I want you to walk away with not only knowing how to manage your money, but knowing how to interact with the professionals that you need to get on the path to wealth and well-being.
Great. This has been very informative, Emily. People love what they hear and they want to reach out to you. What's the best way that we can contact you?
Yes, thank you for the opportunity to share that. I hope that you guys will reach out to me. I hang out on the gram most of the time. I love Instagram.
You do.
So my handle on Instagram is think_legacy_financial coaching, or you can just search for my name, Emily Maclin, Maclin. I hang out there a lot. I'm also on Facebook, by the same name, but Instagram is where you can find me most of the time. If you are interested in setting up a call to learn more, I offer a 30-minute complimentary call to just talk about what's going on, to see if my services can, help you bridge the gap from where you are to where you want to go. And so you can do that by going to bit.ly bit.ly/chat money with Emily. I'll get it right one of these days.
Okay.
So that's bit.ly/chat money with Emily. You can reach me there. And my email is info@emilymaclin.com. So those are 3 ways that we can connect and, get to know each other better.
Absolutely. And I'll definitely put that information down in the show notes so people can have that. Anything that you're working on or that you have coming up that we can support you with?
Well, I will be actually, and I didn't share this with anybody, but I'm going to be offering a 6-week money mindset course. Very course program, I'm not sure what to call it, but just know that it is 6 weeks to talk about, work on, reform, renew, transform your money mindset. And it is called Position to Prosper. And that's about all I have on it right now. So you can just DM me or email me for more information on that. But that's the next thing that I will be launching. I actually take on two new coaching clients a month right now. So into my 7-month program. So if you're interested in the longer term program, I take on 2 new clients, and I have one for March that I've taken on already. So I have 1 spot available for March 2022, and then 2 clients each month after that I started to take on as new clients, if you're interested in that as well. So
I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on and giving us the 411 on all things money. And I appreciate having you here, and I enjoyed talking with you.
Thank you. I really enjoyed you, and I love your voice. It's so soothing. Thank you so much for the invite to be here.
Absolutely. And thank you.
All right. So would love to know your thoughts on what Emily had to say around shame, around money and management of finances, and how that shows up. So, be sure to follow us on social media and leave us a comment or write in and let me know what you're thinking and how you're feeling about this episode. Okay, guys, until next time, you guys take care of yourselves. Stay safe and be well.